homeless man stepped inside asking for water, and the receptionist snapped at him to leave, her voice sharp enough to cut the air. He froze where he stood, the hurt in his eyes deeper than the dirt on his clothes, and when he whispered that he was only thirsty, the reply he received was colder than the water he hoped for. That moment, raw and humiliating, lingered like a wound in the room, a reminder of how quickly the world turns its face away from those who have lost everything except their dignity. It was a moment that would ripple far beyond that doorstep, because in a quiet Georgia town, someone who witnessed that pain would soon make a choice that changed two lives forever. Before we go deeper, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of simple humanity, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to The Kindness Loom. Your support helps more stories like this reach the world. In that small town, where the morning smelled of fresh coffee and old pine, lived a well-respected businessman named Daniel Caldwell. He wasn't the kind of man who flaunted his success, but the town recognized him by the steady way he walked, the gentle nod he offered strangers, and the reliability that seemed stitched into every part of his life. One ordinary morning, as Daniel climbed the steps to his office building, he noticed a man sitting quietly outside, cradling his hands as though he were holding something fragile. The man's clothes were worn and frayed, and his head was lowered as if he didn't want to inconvenience the light itself by looking up. Daniel's assistant mentioned that the man sometimes came by for water but rarely stepped inside, afraid he would be judged for how he looked. Something about that struck Daniel harder than he expected. It stayed with him as he walked through the office doors, as if the stranger's silence had followed him like a shadow. Daniel stepped back outside and approached the man gently, sensing that this was someone who rarely received gentleness. The man lifted his head slowly, revealing eyes that held the exhaustion of a long journey but still flickered with humility. He said he didn't want to burden anyone. He was only thirsty, and even that request embarrassed him. Daniel didn't hesitate. He turned back inside, grabbed a bottle of cold water, and offered it with both hands, not as charity but as a gesture of respect. The man accepted it with quiet grace, murmured a blessing, and walked away with the careful steps of someone who didn't want to take up too much space. Watching him leave, Daniel realized that this stranger, who carried no home, no belongings, and no certainty, still carried a kind of dignity many wealthier people had lost. It moved Daniel deeply, and from that day forward, he told his assistant to inform him whenever the man came by, because he wanted to be the one to bring him water himself. Over time, those brief exchanges grew into conversations, and those conversations revealed pieces of a life that had unraveled too quickly for the man to catch it. His name was James Rowan. He had once been in love, deeply, fiercely. But when that love shattered, the heartbreak took more than just his spirit. It swept away his job, his home, and eventually the version of himself he once recognized. But what struck Daniel most wasn't the tragedy. It was the way James never begged, never demanded, never blamed. He simply survived with as much dignity as he could keep hold of. Daniel encouraged him to return to the one person who might still be waiting for him. His mother, the first woman who had loved him long before life had wearied him. James listened with tears that trembled but didn't fall. He admitted he wished he could hug Daniel for his kindness, but couldn't bear the thought of dirtying his clothes. Daniel smiled and invited him for coffee instead, and that simple gesture broke down a wall James had been carrying for far too long. A few days later, the office door opened and a renewed version of James walked in. A clean-shaven, refreshed, confident man who looked like he had borrowed strength from a better life. Daniel barely recognized him at first, but James's smile carried the same quiet humility. He said he was going home to rebuild, to start over, to give his mother the son she deserved again. Before he left, he embraced Daniel, tightly and gratefully, whispering that Daniel had saved him in ways he could never repay. Then he walked away, this time with steps full of direction instead of shame. Years passed, and life, as it often does, shifted its weight mercilessly. Daniel's business collapsed in a financial storm he couldn't control. Investments failed, partners vanished, and the world that once trusted him now seemed eager to forget him. He moved to a nearby city, relying on 2 aging trucks and a dwindling hope that things might someday turn around. When he found himself unable to make payments on the trucks, He went to a dealership and pleaded for time, his voice carrying the same quiet desperation he once heard in James. But the manager dismissed him, leaving Daniel feeling small and powerless for the first time in his life. The next morning, when the phone rang, Daniel answered, expecting more disappointment. Instead, the dealership employee told him that their boss had decided to sell him 10 trucks on any payment plan he could manage. Daniel stood speechless, wondering what stranger could offer such generosity. When he asked why, the employee hesitated before saying that their boss had left a message. "If he doesn't remember me, he'll remember this sentence. I am unforgettable because of him." Daniel stood frozen, the room blurring as realization dawned. It was James. The man who had once been shattered on his office doorstep had risen, healed, and succeeded, and now returned not to seek help, but to repay it in a way Daniel never expected. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment your thoughts so more people can feel its impact. Before we end, take a moment to comment below. Do you believe a simple act of kindness can change a life forever? And as the story closes, remember that every gesture, no matter how small, can echo across years, across hardships, and across lives, returning to us when we least expect it but most need it.